Tennessee, what happened? How'd you lose to Spencer Rattler in the South Carolina Gamecocks? Oh my gosh. What a week. What a day. I honestly think Saturday was the best day of college football in a very long time. I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself. From start to finish, from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. when the Oregon game wrapped up, that was the most entertained I've ever been. Oh man, it is still surreal to me. I can't even believe it happened, and this is a main reason I started doing the Sunday recaps on Sunday and not Saturday night, because I just gotta go to bed and gather my thoughts for the next day. Whoa. Hold on. Do not act surprised, and you shouldn't be surprised because I told you guys in the preview there was gonna be some upsets. I've been telling you guys the past 2 weeks we're entering that part of the season where craziness is gonna unfold and you can't even predict it. Let me ask you a question. Did anybody actually think, even South Carolina fans, you were gonna upset Tennessee? And even if you did think you were gonna beat Tennessee, did anybody think South Carolina was going to beat them by 30 points? I'll say this much. I highly doubt anybody anticipated that. We're going to talk all about the Tennessee game in that program, and it is not looking good in Rocky Top. Apparently, according to some rumors going on, they got stuff going on behind the scenes. Like I said, stay tuned for that. And also, got to bring this up, your boy Matt, he's finally right on something I called this weekend perfectly. Told you guys in the preview, Michigan, USC, and TCU are an upset alert. I think it's going to be a close game, but at the end, I think all three of them teams are going to pull it out, and I was right. I'm not letting it slide. All you guys were calling me crazy saying, Matt, you're stupid. Illinois is not going to play with Michigan. Your picks are always wrong, blah, 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 blah. And I was right this week. Now, yes, has your boy Matt been wrong a lot this year? Yes, probably 70% of the time, but give me my credit when it's due. Or you don't got to give me credit. It is what it is. All right, Matt, blah, blah, blah. Shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, say it with me now. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'll live for. This is why I get up every single morning and go my hardest for days like this that we saw on Saturday. You know how we do it. Don't act brand new here. We're starting it out with our 11 a.m. games first. At 12 Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, we had Michigan matched up with Illinois. The game went exactly like I expected. Illinois, they want to slow the clock down and run the ball with Chase Brown probably about 35 times. I also told you guys in the preview, hey, if Michigan and J.J. McCarthy has a costly fumble, turnover, interception, that could be the end-all be-all, and Illinois could walk out of there with a win. When I showed all you guys the head-to-head matchup, and I'll show you it here again, when you look at it on paper, seemed like an equal matchup. And I tried telling you guys this in the preview, you cannot sleep on Illinois. Do I think they're a good team? No, but they're a decent team. Let me put it this way. They matched up with Michigan really well. Michigan has a great running back with Blake Corum, but Illinois also has a great running back in Chase Brown. I thought Chase Brown and Illinois would pound the ground. I think everybody thought that. And they did, and it worked. Chase Brown, 29 carries, which is a lot, 140 yards, averaging right at 5 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. Michigan did hold him in check, but the thing about Chase Brown is he's always going to get 3, 4, 5 yards a carry, and then boom, he's going to break a big one. That's what happened. Illinois in that offensive line, they had a phenomenal game. Also, and I told you guys is, hey, do not sleep on Illinois' quarterback, Tommy DeVito. What did I tell you guys in the preview? Do I think he's some elite quarterback that's going to go out there and take the game away from you? Absolutely not, but he can make the throws, and he did. 21 for 30, that's what, 70% completion percentage, $180 and 0 INTs? Couldn't have played any better game on the road. He did what Brett Bielema in Illinois wanted him to do. Game manage the game and make a good throw here and there. I was very impressed with Illinois. I thought they played their A- game. It wasn't an A+ game, but it was definitely their A- game. The unfortunate part about this, we see this any time when, for example, when Georgia struggled with Missouri, or Alabama loses, or Ohio State loses, the storyline isn't, oh, Illinois played a really great game. It's always, oh yeah, Michigan, they're overrated, and they barely got out of there with a win. They should have lost. I understand that because that's what everybody wants to talk about, how this team's overrated and they got a struggle win, but when are we going to give credit to the other team? Now, trust me, I'm the first person to nail Michigan in the ground and say they're overrated, they suck, Illinois is a sorry team, and Michigan got lucky to win. I think you guys know I would tell you that if I believed it. The bottom line is I don't believe it. I think Illinois is a decent team. They're a decent team that on Saturday played a great game. And I'm not going to talk about this too much, but probably they should have won the game if it wasn't for that 4th down and 3 pick play that Michigan got away with, and it was a pick play. Illinois might have won that game. I'm not one to blame the refs. It is what it is. Michigan made the plays when they needed to, and they won the game. If you want to blame the refs and get into that argument in the comment section, go right ahead. I'm not doing all that. Let's talk about Michigan, though. Blake Corum, 18 carries, 108 yards. He had a Blake Corum game. He's as good as advertised. He did have that costly fumble. That cost Michigan some points, but I'm not going to hold it against him. He got hurt on the play. I brought that up because you could also point to that injury, fumble, whatever you want to call it, and say, hey, that's also when the game completely changed. You could feel when Blake Corum went out of that game, even though he came back, the energy wasn't the same. Harbaugh knew it. The fans knew it. Everybody watching on TV knew it. Okay, J.J. McCarthy, he's going to have to make some plays. Yeah, it was pretty much your typical J.J. McCarthy game I've seen all throughout the season. He's nothing more than a game manager, and he managed the game. 18 for 34, that's about 54% completion percentage, 200 yards, 0 TDs, 0 INTs, QBR of below average, actually, which was at 46.7. The best way to describe McCarthy, and I really like this kid, I think he's going to be really special next year. Not this year, but next year is going to be an improvement season. Is sometimes you look at him, you go, man, this dude's amazing. I see all the hype. And then the next play, you're like, yeah, he's definitely still a kid. He's got some time to improve. I have a joke with one of my friends whenever I talk about Alabama, and it's the same way to talk about J.J. McCarthy. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe bad. It's kind of a coin flip with McCarthy at this moment, but give him some credit. He did make some big time throws. And on that fourth down, and I think it was about 4 or 5 in the third or fourth quarter, where they thought it was an offsides and it wound up not being an offside, he threw an absolute dime to his wide receiver and he dropped it. That should have been a touchdown. That was an amazing throw. If you watch the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But after that, yeah, didn't have too many outstanding plays. The thing with McCarthy that frustrates me is he can be special, but it's minor things that's costing him these throws. Whenever he has his feet set and he pushes forward with the ball, oh yeah, he's going to complete 99 out of 100. It's whenever he has bad mechanics and he's leaning backwards and he's throwing off his back foot when it's not so good. Still, with that being said, didn't have the best game, but when they needed him the most on that fourth down pass and to lead him to the game-winning field goal, he came in clutch. All in all, though, and I know this may be controversial, if I'm a Michigan fan, I wouldn't feel bad about this game, and I wouldn't even apologize for it. And I get it. I know some people aren't going to be too happy with that, but Illinois is a decent team. Everybody's going to have a game like this year, especially this weekend. To win when you're running back, he's battling injuries, your quarterback doesn't have his best game, you're making a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I can't apologize for it. I wouldn't. And also, like I told you in the preview, this was a look-ahead week. Nobody, not the Michigan fans, the players, or whoever, was even worried about Illinois. You knew, or at least I knew, this was going to happen. They're very fortunate they came out of there with a win. Shout out to their field goal kicker. I already forgot his name. Dude made all 4 of his field goals. They better be buying that dude a steak dinner every night. It's hard to win week in, week out. Even if you are in the sorry and sucky Big Ten, it's hard. Michigan improves to 11-0, and as we all know, they get the big-time matchup with the Ohio State next weekend. Next up, also at 11 a.m., good gosh almighty, what did I witness? We got TCU and Baylor. You would think, man, I bet Matt's got a lot to say about this one, but I really don't. We know this is just TCU, how they play, and I also think I found it somewhere. I'm going to throw it up on the video or whatnot. This is their 7th straight win by 10 points or fewer. It doesn't matter if TCU's playing the number 1 team in the country or the number 100th ranked team in the country. It's going to come down to the wire. This is their brand. It's how they play, and you almost feel like they love it. I did put them on upset alert, which isn't controversial, and I almost wanted to pick Baylor to win the game, but the reason I couldn't pick Baylor is because I love Max Duggan. This dude is unreal. When you're talking about maybe one of the clutchest quarterbacks in the country this year, he's got to be up there. 24 for 35, 325 yards, 1 TD, 1 INT, QBR of 89 out of 100. It can't get too much better. This dude's amazing, and what impresses me the most about this TCU ball club is they had a lot of injuries they were dealing with in this game. They was missing a bunch of guys. It seemed like Baylor, they had their mojo and swagger. Everything just pointed to Baylor is going to win this game, and yet somehow, someway, TCU pulls it out. As far as it goes for that last-second field goal, I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what to say about it. Should I be impressed that Sonny Dykes, and why did I say Sonny like that? It's Sonny Dykes, pulled that off? I don't even know what to say about it. I'm sorry. He said in the postgame interview, oh yeah, we practice that all the time. It's not as frantic as you think. I don't believe that. Well, I do believe they practice, but still, I don't understand why you would put your team in a position like that. I just don't agree with how he did it, but it doesn't matter if I agree with it or not because it wound up working. The only thing I'm going to say that I like about what he did at the end is if you throw the ball out of bounds and you give your kicker a couple minutes to think about it and warm up, well then, like I just said, he's thinking about it. The reason I kind of like what he did was because in that scenario, the kicker's not, he don't even have time to think, oh man, what if I miss? There's all this pressure on me. If I miss, we're not going to the college football playoff. He don't have time. He's got to worry about getting set. And ultimately, that's why I think he made the kick. Because we all know being a kicker is one of the hardest things ever. I mean, going into a road environment like that and having to kick the game-winning field goal, if you miss, you lose. Yeah, it's pretty nervous for anybody. Pretty nervous. I meant to say pretty nerve-wracking. You get what I'm trying to say. Maybe that's why he did it. I don't know. He said they practiced. It doesn't matter. TCU is 11-0, and the Cinderella run continues, and I'm all here for it. I like this. What do I tell you guys? What I preach on this channel, not just in college football, but in life, winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it. I can't dumb it down. Look at some of your friends that you hang out with. I'm sure some of them, they're good at everything they do. I'm sure some of them are also terrible at everything they do. It's not a coincidence. People in this life that are successful, that are winners, they continue those ways. And people that are failures in this life and suck at everything, they also continue those ways. This is all I'm going to say about TCU. I am sick and tired of everybody saying, they're not legit and they're not this and they're not that. Because if Texas had the same resume, if Oklahoma had the same resume, all of you would be saying, oh, TCU, or not my bad, Oklahoma and Texas, they should be the number one team in the country. That's what gets to me. That's what rubs me the wrong way. You know I'm right. If Texas was 11-0, there wouldn't even be no debate about if they belong in the playoff. You can say whatever you want about this TCU team, but I'm going to tell you this much. They win, and I like winners. I don't care if it's ugly sometimes. I don't care if it's wishy-washy. They're winners. They're 11-0. You can't take that away from them. I think they're a legit top 4 team, and I have no problem saying that. Do they have the talent like an Oklahoma, like a Texas? No, but as a team, they're a collected unit, and they're up there with the best of them. We'll talk more about that later in the week. Moving on to our 2:30 CBS game of the week, we got Georgia and Kentucky. Didn't do too much of a preview on this game because Kentucky is flat out pitiful. They lost to Vanderbilt. I don't even got to say too much about that. But hey, what about Vanderbilt? Picked up a win against Florida. Is this the start to the Vanderbilt dynasty? Maybe it is. You never know. On a serious note, Georgia had a Georgia game. We all knew how this was going to happen. Georgia just went into this game going, hey, we want to run the ball every single play. We don't want to throw it a bunch. Let's just get out of here with no injuries, and that's exactly what they did. I know the score says 16-6, but trust me, it was nowhere that close, and it was an extremely boring game to watch. I'll show you the numbers. Georgia as a team had 46 rush attempts, and they only had 19 pass attempts. Stetson DoorDash Bennett only had 100 passing yards and 1 interception. Kentucky's not that good. There's not too much to say here, and I wouldn't even say they struggled with this game, because they didn't. Moving on to this one, though, we got to talk about it. The Ohio State struggling with Maryland. Maryland, a poverty program. I mean this in the most disrespectful way possible. Maryland flat out sucks. And if I was an Ohio State fan, which I'm not, I would be very concerned about struggling with Maryland because remember, it was only a couple weeks ago you struggled with Northwestern, who is beyond pitiful. I mean, Northwestern, aren't they 1-10 now? Their only win was in Ireland against Nebraska and also an embarrassing program itself. What about Omeni Tua, though? For those of you that don't know, Tua Tagovailoa's little brother that goes by the name of Taulia Tagovailoa, he's a quarterback from Maryland, and he outplayed CJ Stroud. Oh, you don't want to believe me? I'll give you the stats to back it up. 26 for 36, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 INTs, a QBR 91.3. Yeah, not too shabby. On the flip side, for good old CJ Stroud, I do like CJ Stroud, but he didn't have a better game than Taulia. 18 for 30, 240, 1 touchdown, 0 picks, QBR 77. And may I remind you that Taulia Tagovailoa, he's throwing to GameStop employees. Ohio State's quarterback CJ Stroud, he's throwing to future first-round NFL picks. So yeah, you can do what you want with that information. I mean, this game came down to the wire. Ohio State really only won 36-30. Those last 7 points came off of a last-second touchdown that really doesn't even matter. Here's what concerns me the most about Ohio State, and I'm like, yeah, they're kind of what I thought they are. Their defense isn't that good. I'd say they're average at best. Maryland didn't even score a point against Penn State, and they put up 30 on Ohio State. Ohio State's defense is just simply not that good, and I never thought they were. I saw all throughout early on in the season people saying, hey, this Ohio State defense, I think they've improved. No, they didn't improve. They're just playing cupcakes. That's why they look good. I'll leave it at this. It's embarrassing to even be competing with Maryland. Why is Maryland even in this game? It's not the same thing as Illinois and Michigan, and I'll explain why. Illinois, yeah, decent team. Maryland, no. And I think it's funny because Ohio State fans, you no longer have the excuse of, oh, it's the weather. That's why we struggle with Northwestern. You have no excuse. And here's maybe the worst part about it. The Ohio State offense, it's still awesome. I'll show you the numbers right here. The running back, Trayvon Henderson, we know he's awesome. And also the backup running back, Hayden, he had a field day. He had 150 rushing yards. And CJ Stroud is CJ Stroud. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. The offense played great. And that's what should worry you, because what if the offense doesn't play great against Michigan? You don't even have a shot to win. But, and I have a big but, same thing with Michigan. Anytime you get a win, especially on the road, I wouldn't apologize for it. That's one of my golden rules. A win is a win. I would be concerned, though, if I am an Ohio State fan. Moving on down here, the Clemson-Miami game doesn't matter. Clemson, you're not getting in the playoff, even if you win out. And last but not least, oh, wait, it's not last but not least. It's second to last. We got to talk about Tennessee and South Carolina, because I forgot we got to talk about the USC and UCLA game. Yeah, so that happened. 63 points. Oh, brother. I mean, come on now. What do you want me to say? It is beyond pitiful. It's beyond embarrassing. It's just sad, and it's disappointing to give up 63 to South Carolina, one of the worst offensive teams, not just in the SEC, but in the country. Here's a fun fact for you. Your boy Spencer Rattler, on the season leading into this game, had 8 touchdown passes. Against Tennessee, he had 6. I do want to give credit to Rattler. This was the Rattler we thought we were going to see at Oklahoma and even early on in the year. This is his potential. This is what he can live up to. You could also argue maybe this game saved his NFL career, because now maybe some NFL scouts will say, hey, there's the upside. We could draft him in the 4th or 5th round. But that's a different conversation for a different day. I'll show you the numbers right here. I want to give credit to Rattler. I was so happy for him. 30 for 37, 438 through the air, and 6 touchdowns. Count them, 6. Here's another fun fact for you. South Carolina last week against Florida. And by the way, Florida lost to Vanderbilt. Their team had 6 points. And this week, you cannot make this up. Spencer Rattler had 6 touchdowns himself. How do you go from scoring 6 to 63? I think that's more of a problem with Tennessee's defense. I think this was also one of those situations where this was South Carolina's Super Bowl and they caught lightning in a bottle. They couldn't have played better. Even on defense, they played a great game. I know that's crazy to say, but their defense really held Tennessee to 31 points, and that's good. I'm looking at this, and it kind of looks like a basketball score, if I'm being honest. I'm not even going to talk about how bad the Tennessee defense was. This goes without being said. I mean, you can just look at the scoreboard and kind of understand the Tennessee defense was flat out awful. South Carolina did whatever they wanted. If they wanted to run the ball, they could run the ball. If they wanted to pass, which they did for the most part, they could pass it to whoever and whenever. Here's where things get very concerning if I'm a Tennessee fan. So apparently, like I said, let me make this clear. These are rumors and speculation. There's a lot of bad blood and beef going on in the locker room. Not going to talk too much about that. That is a video for a different day, but apparently the players are not on the same page. And if you had to ask me, definitely makes sense, because how else do you give up 63 to South Carolina? There's just not too much more to say. It speaks for itself. I will say this. All them Tennessee fans are awfully quiet today. Music to my ears. And here's what's so sweet about it. Just to think, what was it? 3 or 4 weeks ago, these Tennessee fans were talking about, hey, maybe we're better than 2019 LSU. The best analogy to describe Tennessee fans is if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You can't make this stuff up. Tennessee just had their best season in 20 years. And all that just to go to the Chinese New Year Bowl and play Iowa. Normally, I would say you hate to see it, but I don't think anybody hates this. I think we can all agree we love to see it. It's also kind of funny and ironic, I guess you could say, because about a week or two ago, Josh Heupel in Tennessee was getting a lot of hate because many people thought they were running up the score against Missouri. I didn't think they were running up the score, but that's what everybody was saying. And then what do you know? South Carolina a week later beats them 63-38. If you don't want to believe in karma, that's cool, but the football gods, they're real. Last but not least, though, moving on to this one, and this is a big time one, we got USC and UCLA. Went how I expected, thought it was going to come down to the wire. I did have USC on upset alert, and they pulled it out. Caleb Williams is must-see TV. This dude is special. He's my second best quarterback in the country. Number 1, I got Bryce Young, and number 2, I've bumped Caleb Williams above CJ Stroud. I just don't understand understand how you can watch Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud and try to say that Caleb Williams isn't better. This dude is unreal. 32 for 43, 470 with 2 TDs and 1 INT. He does a little bit of everything. USC's defense, not so good, but it doesn't matter. When you got an offense like that, you can beat anybody. Also, do want to give credit to UCLA. USC's defense, of course, they're average at best, but UCLA's offense is good. I'll tell you this much. I, for one, would like to see USC get into the playoff if they win out, and I think they will get in. No ifs, ands, or buts. Just to see how Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley plays. Think about that matchup, guys. USC versus Georgia, yes, sign me up. That's pretty much it. Oregon did pull out the win, but like I said, it sucks to say this, but it's the cold, hard truth. The game doesn't even matter because only 4 teams can get into the playoff. If this was a 12-team playoff, which I can't wait for it to expand, yeah, then this Oregon-Utah game, it does matter, but it doesn't. That's why we got to expand to 12 teams. And also, I tweeted this out. After watching all these teams on Saturday, I came to the conclusion that nobody deserves to be into the playoff. The only team you can point to and say, yeah, they deserve to be in the playoff is Georgia. And honestly, if they came out and said tomorrow that we're not having a playoff and Georgia's just going to be crowned the national champion, I'd be okay with it because they deserve it. There's a lot more I can say. I'm going to save the rest of that for videos later this week. I am extremely curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But,